Relationship goals. We're starting a brand new series today, as you just saw, and talking about relationship goals. What a fun topic to dive into. If you get married in this series, you got a tithe double, all right? And but y'all didn't like that too much. You got a tithe double, and isn't it fun to be in the house of the Lord this morning? Come on. Just look at the person beside you and say, "Come on." Listen, we don't always have to be serious, man. I have too much fun, and I'm jacked up, ready to go right now. Relationship goals. Here's the thing, in life, man, we've all got relationships, and relationships are important. And probably all of us would say, "Hey, Sam, my goal in relationships is to have healthy relationships, relationships that are done well, relationships that are done right," and we're surrounded by relationships on a daily basis, whether that's family, whether that's friends, whether that's marriage, whether that's dating, relationships all around us. And we'd probably all even say today that as we look back over our life, there are different moments where we saw relationships go bad, and there are moments where we saw relationships go well. Moments where relationships got shattered or broken down, and moments where we're like, man, that relationship went really well. Not long after I was with my wife, we'd been together for a while, I found out a story about her that I'd never heard that made me question, who really are you? And my wife had some friends, and one of those friends got cheated on in a relationship. So my wife and her friends decided to take it upon themselves to bring justice in that situation. So they got in a car, and they started driving toward that house of the boy that cheated on her friend. And as they're on their way to that house, they took something with them as well. And as they're driving towards that house, now I'm not condoning this or saying this is okay, but they decided to take this bat and swing it at this young boy's mailbox. Well, the baseball bandit happened to be my wife, Katie Landrith. And so she leans out of the window and she swings this bat, and the first time she swings it, it kind of bounces back off and didn't get it as good as they want, so they drove by and they said, "We didn't get it good enough, let's go back." Friends, never go back, all right? One time is enough. So they drive by again, and she leans out this window and hits this mailbox as hard as she can, crushes it, and at the same time they hear someone yelling from the house saying, "Hey," and then all of a sudden they realize that that person is in their car and is chasing them down the road. So now they're on a runaway because they just hit a mailbox. Katie, the altar is right here. You can repent at any moment. I'm just kidding. She's going to beat me with this bat if I don't be careful. And they pull off and they, listen, I'm not condoning this or saying it's okay, but if you ever do something like this, you got to hide the evidence. And so they pull over, they shut the lights off, they turn the car off, and someone says, "Throw the bat in the woods." And they take the bat and they throw it in the woods. Well, then they leave. They're thinking, man, we got away, and they're jamming, they're playing music, they're celebrating. They pull in a gas station, and then all of a sudden blue lights come on, and they pull up. Cop begins to ask some questions. One girl took the lead, told the other girls, "You don't say a word." He can't find a baseball bat, so he ends up letting them go. But today, here's why I tell you that story. If I ever get a nasty email from you, and your mailbox goes missing, I don't know what happened. All right? Just know, don't mess with my wife. But today, here's the reality. In life, we have moments where relationships go bad. All of a sudden, it ends up with things being broken down, you running in different directions, you're trying to avoid different people, you're trying to hide different stuff, and there's moments in life where all of a sudden our relationships come crashing down, come broken down, and we're left running and hiding and going all kinds of different directions. Man, the truth is all of us should aim to say, hey, when it comes to relationship goals, we don't want any relationships where they're broken down and shattered and we're left running and trying to hide things. Instead, we want relationships that are healthy in our life, relationships that make us better in our life, relationships that draw us closer to God and closer to what He says and His word and His way, and closer to people who follow His way. And today I want to preach to you a message called Right Relationships, Right Direction, and we're kind of going to jump all over the place this morning. But if you want to flip open, if you got a Bible, to Matthew 22, 37 through 40 is where we'll start this morning, and then we'll kind of jump all around. Matthew chapter 22, verse 37 through 40 says this. This is Jesus talking. He said to him, Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and most important command. The second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets depend on these two commands. We'll read it again, verse 37. He said to him, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. It's the greatest and most important command. The second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets depend on these two commands. Right here from the beginning, we see the two most important commands are love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. You see this idea of my relationship with God and my relationship with others. And today we've got to look and we've got to examine, man, how is my relationship with God and how is my relationship with others? What does it look like in my life? Do I have a healthy relationship with God and do I have a healthy relationship with others? And the truth is, this morning, I think if we're honest, all of us at times in our life, we don't ever stop to examine ourselves. You ever met those people that all of a sudden they have a friend and then it blows up, then they have another friend and then it blows up, then they've got another friend and it blows up, and then they've got another friend and it blows up, and it's always everybody else's fault. It's never their fault. And the truth is, sometimes we don't take time to just look inside ourselves and examine and say, do I have things in my life that are unhealthy? Do I have things in my life that are not right? Or the reason these relationships failing, not other people, but are they because of me? And is there something in my life that is not where it needs to be? Because the reality this morning is we all carry around things that aren't healthy. We all have baggage, we all have problems, and we all have issues. And this morning, I want to tell you, as we talk about relationships with others as we go this morning, number one, if we want to have the right relationship with others, we've got to have a right relationship with God. We've got to have a right relationship with God. Say, Sam, what does that mean? That means us getting before God and being honest about ourselves, being honest about our flaws, being honest about our brokenness, and saying, God, here are my issues. Here are the things I struggle with. Here are the things that I'm tempted in. Here are the mistakes that I make. And God, I'm laying it down before you. God, here are the things in my life that are unhealthy. Here are the things in my life that aren't good. And I'm laying them down before your feet. Because if not, what happens is you carry around that baggage into the relationships around you. And because you're unhealthy, all of a sudden, all those other relationships become unhealthy. If you want to have the right relationship with other people, you've got to first have the right relationship with God. Man, here's the reality. We all have baggage. I like to call it, it's like our baggage backpack that we all carry around. And some things maybe aren't your fault. Maybe it's the way you grew up. Maybe it's what you were exposed to. Maybe it's mistakes you made in your past. But we walk around sometimes and we're just carrying this baggage backpack in our lives. And when we don't get before God, all we do is keep carrying this baggage backpack. We keep adding to this baggage backpack. It gets heavier and it gets harder to have the right relationships in life. You know, in Hebrews 12, 1 through 2, it says this, therefore, since we also have such a large cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily ensnares us. Let us run with endurance the race that lies before us, keeping our eyes on Jesus, the source and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that lay before him endured the cross and despised the shame and has sat down at the right hand of God's throne. I want you to think of verse 1 there. It says, lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily ensnares us. Now, I want you to think about this morning. It doesn't say the sin that is so hard to fall into. It doesn't say the sin that is so difficult to fall into. No, it says the sin that so easily ensnares us. Some versions say entangle us. And I want you to think about this. Man, the sin so easily in our life can just creep in and begin to entangle us and ensnare us. And without us even realizing it, this sin has easily creeped into our life. And we're walking around with more baggage than we ever meant or we ever intended to. And what does it say? It says, lay aside that weight at the feet of Jesus. I don't know what that looks like for you today. But maybe it looks something like this in your life. Maybe for some of you today, it looks like this. God, man, I've got a struggle with lust. And God, I know I've been thinking the wrong thoughts and my eyes have been wandering in the wrong places. And God, I don't want to do that anymore. God, I want to be like Job. I want to make a covenant to let my eyes not look lustfully upon a young woman. So God, I'm giving you my lust. Give me a pure heart. Give me a pure mind. God, I'm laying that weight before your feet. For some of us, man, it might be insecurity. And the truth is, it looks like this. God, I've been insecure in who I am. But God, I want to find my identity in you. I want to be secure in who you've called me to be, who you've created me to be. So God, I'm laying down my insecurity before you. I know where my identity lies. It lies in you. I know who you've called me to be. I know who you've created me to be. God, would you help me walk today secure in you and not anything of this world? For some of you, it might be, God, I don't know why this happened in my life. I don't know why this loved one died. I don't know why this person has cancer. God, I don't know why I'm in this valley and I can't get out of it, but God, I've got this pain in my life and it's weighing me down. And God, I don't know what to do with this pain, but I'm saying the best way I know how, God, I'm giving you my pain, and God, would you walk with me through the valley of the shadow of death? God, would you carry me through? God, would you walk with me? And God, would you help me carry this pain? Maybe for some of you, it's saying, God, the truth is my anger is starting to cause big problems in my relationships. It's starting to cause big problems in my relationship with friends and family. And God, I want to be quick to listen. I want to be slow to speak, and I want to be slow to become angry. And God, I'm giving you my anger. Would you help me to be able to control it? Maybe for some of us, God, I'm sorry that I've got so much pride in my life. God, I'm sorry that I'm always trying to do my way instead of your way. God, I'm sorry that I think I know all the answers. God, I want your way, not my way in my life. I'm laying down my pride before you. You know best. Maybe for some of you, it's God, I'm sorry that I've got idols in my life, things that I've placed before you. God, you should be first and foremost in my life. I want you to have the first and foremost place in my life. So God, I'm laying down anything that I've been worshiping or putting before you. And God, I'm laying that weight down at your feet today. Can I tell you something? I don't think that's a one-time process. I think that's a daily process. I think it's daily. You're coming before God and saying, God, here are my issues, and fill in the blank for anything I didn't name that might be your weight. And you're saying, God, here are my flaws. God, here is my brokenness. God, here are my issues. God, would you help me to be like you today? Would you help me to walk like you today, to talk like you today? I'm laying it down at your feet so I don't have to carry around the weights and burdens that pull me back and hinder me from running the race that you called me to run. And boy, when you begin to lay those down at the feet of Jesus, you begin to feel a little bit lighter. You begin to feel a little bit more set free. And you can lay them down over and over and over again and walk into what God has called you to be. And then here's where this matters. Because number two, we've got to look for the right relationship with others. And here's where this matters. You've got to then begin to look for and say, God, I know who you've called me to be. God, I know who you want me to be. God, I know which way you want me to run. I know which direction you want me to go. And then you've got to ask the question, man, are the people I'm putting in my life adding weight to my life, or are they helping me lay down the weights in my life? Are the people in my life pointing me towards Jesus, or are they pulling me away from Jesus? Are the people in my life helping me chase after Jesus, or are they hindering my relationship with Jesus? Now, here's what I want to do. All the way from the front to the back here, all the way across the room, all over this room, I want you to grab your phone notes. I want you to grab a piece of paper, whatever you got, because I'm going to ask you to write down the 5 closest people in your life, all right? All over this room, we need full participation. If I don't see you, God can see you, and he'll strike you down. All right, I got you a little music. Go for it. 5 people closest to you from the front to the back. Come on, come on. Back row, second to the left, I see you. Get to writing. Over here, get to writing. 5 closest people in your life. Who are they? 5 closest people. Give you a few more seconds. 5 closest people in your life. If I walked around with you, those are the people I would see. If I walked around with you, those are the names I would hear. Give you 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right? Now I want you to look at that list. I want you to look at the names on that list. And then I want you to ask this question. Are those people on that list pointing me towards Jesus or pulling me away from Jesus? Are the people on that list helping me in my relationship with Jesus, or are they pulling me away from my relationship with Jesus? Are the people on that list helping me lay down the weights in my life, or are they adding weights in my life? Man, here's the reality. If you listen to sociologists and all kinds of different people, they will tell you that the 5 closest people around your life influence you and have influence on your life. And even if they don't say the 5, there's no doubt that everyone agrees that the people you put in your life influence you. If you read, if you hang out with people who eat more, you'll begin to eat more. If you hang out with people who begin to smoke more, you'll smoke more. Fill in the blank. You become like the people you're around. You ever hung out with people and you leave and you start talking like them and you start saying the words they said and you're thinking, where did that come from? Because we're all influenced by the people around us. So do those 5 people point me to Jesus, or do they pull me away from Jesus? That's what's so important, because we're all influenced. We're all pulled in different directions. And if we got a right relationship with God, then we got to say, God, I want to be surrounded by people who help me in my faith, who push me towards you. Not only that, but the Bible speaks to this time and time again. Let me give you several different verses here. 1 Corinthians 15:33 through 34 says this: do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals. Come to your senses and stop sinning. For some people are ignorant about God. I say this to your shame. Proverbs 13:20. The one who walks with the wise will become wise, but a companion of fools will suffer harm. Proverbs 17:17 says, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a difficult time. John 15:12 through 14. This is my command. Love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, that someone would lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. Proverbs 22:24 through 25. Don't make friends with an angry man, and don't be a companion of a hot-tempered man, or you will learn his ways and entangle yourself in a snare. Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. Ecclesiastes 4:12. And if someone overpowers one person, 2 can resist him. A cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. See, time and time again, that the Bible speaks to the people that we surround ourselves with, the people that we're close with. Now this morning, let's tackle this for a moment. Because some of you may be saying, Sam, that's great. Because in life is all about balance. You say, Sam, how do we balance between Jesus was a friend of sinners and then what Proverbs says, one who walks with the wise will become wise, and a companion of fools suffers harm? Say, Sam, Jesus told us to go and make disciples of all nations. But then we're also told to watch who we surround ourselves with. How do we balance that in this way? Here's what I tell you. Think of the life of Jesus. Jesus gave equal love to all. He gave equal care to all. He gave equal acceptance to all. But he did not give equal access to all. Think about it. Jesus had the 12, and then even beyond the 12, he had an inner circle of 3. Not everybody went on the mountain, only 3, Peter, James, and John. And in your life, here's what I'd say, man, you got to care for everybody. We got to love people who are far from God. And what I'm not saying today is go out and cut every single person out of your life. Man, you need to love on people who are far from God. You need to talk to people who are far from God. You need to call people who are far from God. But what I am saying is you don't need those people to be the closest and loudest voices in your life. Let me show you a diagram that I saw Josh Howerton use, who used to be at the bridge and now is Lake Point, that I think describes this well when it talks about our life and relationships. In our life, we have different relationships. We've got people in the intimacy circle, we've got people in the influence circle, and then we've ultimately got people in the care circle. And what I would say, man, is that in the intimacy circle and the influence circle, think of Jesus, that would be the 3 in the intimacy circle. That would be those that are closest to him, doing everything with him. And then you've got the 12 outside of that. And then what is the care? That's everybody else. You're caring for everybody. You're loving on everybody. You're talking to everybody. You are a friend to sinners. But you don't want those people to influence your life and to be the loudest voice in your life. You know, let me just give you a couple of examples here, extreme examples. If someone comes into me and says, Pastor Sam, man, I was out evangelizing the lost last night. I said, really? Man, tell me about that. What were you doing? He said, Sam, I was at the strip club telling people about Jesus. And I say, how did that go? Man, it was great. We threw dollar bills and we talked about Jesus the whole time. You know what I'm going to say to that person? You're an idiot. I'm going to say you are playing with fire. You are putting yourself in an environment where you will fall, where you will stumble, where you will make the same mistakes as everyone else. If that's where you're going, you're putting yourself in an environment where you will soon be burned by that fire and stumble and fall. In the same way, let me give you another example. If I talk to someone and say, hey man, how's it going? They say, it's going great, Pastor Sam. I say, hey man, tell me who you're trying to talk to about Jesus who doesn't know Jesus. Tell me about the people in your life that are far from God that you're trying to reach. And they say, Pastor Sam, the truth is I don't really know anybody who doesn't know Jesus. Then you know what I'm going to tell them? You need to pop that bubble, and you need to get out, and you need to meet some people who are far from God, because thank God someone checked on me when I was far from God. Thank God someone texted me when I was far from God. Thank goodness someone took me to lunch when I was far from God. Thank goodness someone called when I was far from God. And man, we've got to continue the mission and meet and love on people and reach people who are far from God. You say, Sam, how do I test that? Here's what I'd say. Test it this way. If it's going to put you in an environment where you will end up making the same mistakes that they're making, don't go. There's always another way. All those people at the strip club, newsflash, they're somewhere during the day. Go talk to them during the day. And here's what I'm trying to get to is, man, we've got to know lost people. We've got to reach out to lost people. I want to know all kinds of people who are far from God. Nothing excites me more when I meet someone who just accepted Jesus and they don't even know how to talk. They're dropping cuss words all the way through their testimony. I'm saying, praise God, you were far from God. Now you found it. We'll worry about the rest as we disciple you. But I also don't want to put myself in a mistake where I make the same mistake they're making and now my testimony's gone. Let me be real with you for a moment. You ever heard someone say, Pastor, I've had people tell me, Sam, last night we were hammered. I'm not saying drinking, we were hammered. But we had the greatest spiritual conversation we ever had. Can I just tell you what you did in that moment? You just ruined your testimony. God can use anything, but you're telling me God has to use sin to reach that person? Let me tell you how illogical that is. Hey, Katie, I had an affair last week, but we talked about God after. What's the difference? And in that moment, your testimony goes down the drain with it. Man, meet people where they're at, love on people where they're at, but don't put yourself in a situation where you end up making the same mistake that they're making, that they're falling into. Number 3 this morning, man, right relationships, right direction. Right relationships, right direction. Man, if we have the right relationship with God, man, we're moving in the right direction. We know how to walk, we know how to talk, we know how to live, we know how to go through this life, and even more, we're moving in the right direction because one day we'll stand before God and He'll say, well done, my good and faithful servant. If we've got the right relationships around us, the people to hold us up, carry us through, walk with us in this life, man, we're headed in the right direction because they're helping us through and carrying us all the way through. Man, in the Bible, in Exodus, chapter 17, verse 11, there's a story I want to read to you about Moses, who had some help from some people. This is what it says in chapter 17, verse 11. While Moses held up his hand, Israel prevailed. But whenever he put his hand down, Amalek prevailed. When Moses' hands grew heavy, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat down on it. Then Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and one on the other side, so that his hands remained steady until the sun went down. So Joshua defeated Amalek and his army with the sword. Moses has a staff, and as long as he holds his arms up, they're winning the battle. As soon as his arms come down, they begin to lose the battle. And what happens? Moses begins to get tired. And what happens? Aaron comes on one side, Hur comes on the other side, and they say, Moses, we're on each side of you. We'll hold your arms. I know you're tired. I know the battle seems long. I know the battle seems tough. But Moses, we got you, one on each side. And together we'll hold on to you, and we'll hold on to God, and we'll sing, God bring the victory. Man, I don't know about you, but I need an Aaron and a Hur in my life. Can anybody come on with that? I need some people in my life that say, Sam, I'm coming alongside you. And man, when you get tired, I'm going to hold you up. Sam, when you're ready to give in, I'm going to hold you up. Sam, when the battle seems like it's lost, we're going to hold you up, and we're going to make it through, and we're going to see God bring the victory. God bring the victory. And that's the kind of people you need in your life. Godly people who come alongside you to say, we know the battle's hard. We know the battle's tough. We know the battle seems long. We know life is hard. We know life is full of all kinds of problems. We know life is not fair, but we're in it with you together, and God is with us as well. Man, I tell you what, that's what real Christian community and life, doing life together looks like. Let me show it to you in a different way today. Let me show you in a different way today. What really helps us in life? You guys go ahead. What really helps us in life? Remember, we're going through life. We're going through issues. I talked about those weights in our life. I mean, this is what it really looks like. And I want to give you a picture of this morning. That when all of a sudden someone in our life is going through something. And this is Colby and Kaylin. Let's just say, man, they're carrying the weight of pain. And you know what it looks like? It looks like saying, hey, guys, we know that you're in a painful moment. We know that your marriage is struggling. We know that your marriage is in a hard spot right now. We know that you guys are going through all kinds of stuff. But, hey, you don't have to carry this weight alone. We'll carry it together, and we'll pray with you. And, Kaylin, someone will meet with you. And, Colby, someone will meet with you. And we'll text you guys, and we'll walk with you guys, and we'll carry you guys. And when we get to the other side, we'll lay this weight down together before God. It looks like this. LeVan over here has got a weight in his life. And maybe it's insecurity. And it looks like this. Hey, LeVan, I know that you're struggling with insecurity, but I want you to know God has called you to a specific purpose and plan, and you can be secure in who God is. And I know we may not have the same skin color, but we're family. We're brothers in Christ. And, man, we'll walk this road together, and we'll do this road together. And you don't have to be insecure because we're in this thing together, and God has called you to something so much more, and we'll lay this weight down on the other side together. It looks like this. Colton has a weight in his hands. And maybe it's lust. And you say, Colton, man, I know that you're carrying this weight of lust. Man, thanks so much for being honest about it and open about it, because if you don't deal with it, your marriage will be destroyed. Your life will be destroyed, and you don't have to carry it alone. Man, we'll hold you accountable. We'll text you. We'll check in on what you're looking at. We'll watch your thoughts, and, man, we'll get through this road together, and we'll lay down this weight on the other side. It's what it really looks like when you're doing life in Christian community, real Christian community designed to be that way. That you don't have to carry the weight alone. That you have God and you have other people who help you carry that weight to the other sides. Almost everybody who tries to carry it alone, you know what happens? They end up broken down. And they end up falling somewhere in the middle there. And they don't make it to the other side. The beauty is you don't have to do it alone. You've got God and you've got other people who will walk alongside you. Man, all over this room, go ahead and grab this card and the pen near you. If you need one, just raise your hand. But I'm going to ask everyone to drop this in the bucket here in just a moment. And you can do one per couple. But everyone grab this card all over the room. Grab a pen. If you need something, raise your hand. We'll bring it to you. You do one per couple. But here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Man, I couldn't help but as I was preaching on this, to not push life groups. Because that's our avenue to have that community. That's our avenue to have those people in our life. And here's what I'm going to ask you to do. If you're already in a life group, just go ahead and put down the life group that you're in. Just put your name and cell and email. We're going to take one from everybody in just a second in the bucket. And just put down the life group you're already in. If you're not in a life group, here's what I'm asking. I'm asking that you'll test drive a life group for 4 weeks. Test drive. You know what that means? You just go try it out. If you get to the end of 4 weeks and you say, Sam, these are the weirdest people I've ever met in my life and I don't want to go back, you ain't got to go back. Full permission right here. You just tell them, Pastor Sam said I'm done after 4 weeks. Man, just try it for 4 weeks. Everybody can try out a life group. So I'm asking you, test drive a life group. Find the time that best fits you, whether that's 9:30, 11, Sunday night, Wednesday night. If you want to do a home group during the week at a different time. And then maybe some of you today, you want to start a life group. And I'm going to ask you, man, if you hadn't taken that step, test drive a life group. Fill out that card all over this room. The ushers are going to come right now, and they're going to pass the bucket down the aisles just like we used to. And you're going to drop this card right in the bucket. Ushers, go ahead and come on down. Wherever you're at, come on down and we'll pass the buckets. And as they're about to pass these buckets, and I want you guys to know what we got coming up. We've got a marriage conference that's going to happen on February 19th. And that night, it's going to be awesome. It's called Date Night. We've got Jeff Lovingood and Rachel Lovingood who are going to be with us. And I want you to see just a real quick video for them. And then I've got a couple more things. So check out this video from them about Date Night.
Hello, Thompson State Church. This is Jeff Lovingood and Rachel Lovingood, and we've been married for 35 years, and we're excited about being with you at your marriage conference.
That's right. And in this world where marriage is under attack like never before, you know, God didn't just call us to survive in marriage, but actually to thrive. So we want to open God's word and find some truths and principles that are super applicable that can help each one of us to strengthen the marriages that we have.
Hey, we'll see you there.
It's going to be an awesome night. You don't want to miss it. Go ahead and sign up. They've been married for 35 years. Jeff was chaplain at Tennessee. He's worked at several different churches. Rachel speaks all over. And, hey, I just want you to know, too, as we go through this series, next week, Pastor Tom's going to bring a powerful word on marriage. And then the next week, February 19th, just want to go ahead and let you know, it'll be a little bit PG-13. So go ahead and censor if you got young kids, if you want to bring them in or not. We'll be touching on some topics and sexuality and other things. I'll go ahead and tell you the title. Here's what it is. Jesus is telling me no, but my body is telling me yes. All right? It's a pretty good title, isn't it? That's what we'll be talking about that day. And boy, what a great topic. How many times is our body telling us something that's not right for us? And we're going to be diving into that, but I want you to know so you can decide what to do with your kids, because it'll be a little bit more than normal that day. And we're going to be diving into some real stuff. And so it's going to be awesome. Don't miss a week in this series. Thanks so much for joining us today. And hey, we got the prayer clinic to my left, life groups out front. Have a great day. You're dismissed.